You're listening to Wake Up with Patti Katter, where we're overcoming trials with triumphs. Now, here's your host, Patti Katter.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining me again this week. Today, I have Ryan Matthews on the show, and I met Ryan a couple years ago at least, and I've been wanting to get him on my show. He is incredible. He's an amazing dog trainer, which I can't wait to get into. But Ryan, tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and where you came from.
Oh, geez. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. I'm super happy to connect with you. I've been wanting to be on your show for quite a while, so thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. But yeah, my name is Ryan Matthews. I'm known as the K-9 Mentalist. I'm based in Southern California, but certainly looking to change that a bit as I love to travel a lot. I'm a former Army combat K-9 handler turned pet celebrity dog trainer. So dogs have really ultimately saved my life, and I've dedicated my life to giving back to them. And that's what I'm here for. And I really love to transform lives in a positive way, both people and dogs. So that's how I'm here to serve.
Thank you. So tell me, when you were little, when you were just a kid, a little lad, what was it that you wanted to do when you were older?
I love this question. I remember in fifth grade in the yearbook, they said, "What do you want to be?" And I said, a Major League Baseball player. And then, Patti, if you can guess the other thing that I wanted to become, I'll legit give you $500. Guess what was the other thing that I wanted to become?
I mean, I would guess a soldier, but I know it's got to be wrong.
Right, not a soldier. I wanted to be a rapper in the fifth grade.
That's awesome.
Is that funny? You know, that was a lot of influence from my brother, probably. And I didn't really have pets growing up as far as dogs. And it's really been incredible geez, Patti, they've taught me so much about life and about myself. And I'm continuing to grow and continuing to learn, even though I've been doing this for 20 years. But anyways, yeah, I wanted to be a Major League Baseball player or a rapper. Obviously, both didn't play out so much. And I'm certainly glad about the path that I chose.
Well, I don't think any of my listeners know this, but I do have a secret rap name, and it's Skittles because I have a lot of riddles.
Okay. That's awesome. Do you have a YouTube channel where I could hear more of these Patti flows?
I don't. Maybe someday.
That's awesome.
So, tell me this: when you were a kid, did you have any aspirations at all to go into the military, or how did that happen?
Well, geez, it's not as beautiful or patriotic as you may think, really. Although as I said that, I had a really beautiful download. Dogs have given me this gift, Patti, of like turning into a bit of an intuitive. And so it's really cool that sometimes I'll get like messages from a higher power. I know that sounds kind of crazy for some people, maybe.
Not me.
But okay, cool. I love it. So anyways, I was going to say like, no, I never had the aspiration of becoming a soldier. But then, you know, the visual was like this photo of me in a G.I. Joe plastic tent with a soldier hat on and a fake rifle, probably when I was 5. And so I guess it was there, although I didn't remember that. But really, Patti, I joined the military because I felt like I had no other options. It wasn't because I was patriotic, to be totally transparent. It wasn't for the benefits of, you know, education or anything. It was honestly just to run away of my current situation. I felt like my life was in danger. Some people threatened to kill me. And honestly, I chose to run away. I went to the recruiter and I said, you know, I want to be military police. And number 2, I want to be stationed overseas. It's because I wanted to run away. And they sure enough gave me both. And I wanted to be military police, Patti, because I wanted to clean my act up, but I didn't know how to. And so in 2000, that's when I joined. And that's when I really started my first transformation. There's been many of them in this lifetime.
Oh my word. I love that so much. You have no idea. Because, you know, you have that choice in life. Everybody gets to that fork in the road, right? Where you don't know what you're going to do, or like you could make a bad decision, but you chose to do a really great decision that was life-changing for you. And I also think it was really funny that when you were 5 years old, you dressed up as a G.I. Joe. I kind of was getting like chills when you were telling me that, because maybe somehow deep down you kind of knew. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I feel like there's no coincidences in life, and especially when we're open.
Mhm.
Right? Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Kind of something funny that I usually don't open up too much on my show, but I'm going to, I guess, today. When I was like 5, I had a Mickey Mouse karaoke machine and I would pretend that I was interviewing people with it. So that was kind of
Whoa,
cool. Yeah.
that's so fun. I wonder
Yeah.
if you have a photo that would be really cool to see that and be like, look, like I've been training for this for years.
I
That's really
know it.
beautiful.
Yeah, I have to go dig through all my old pictures because I bet you I do because I loved that thing. I mean, I took it everywhere. And even in like elementary school and junior high, I used to take a tape recorder to school. My friends and I used to pretend like we were reporters. So,
Oh, that's so cool. I love it.
but more about you, because I think that you're really interesting. You join the military and you just think, oh, I'm going to clean my act up, but then boom, you end up in combat, right?
Yeah. Well, even it's kind of even worse than that, Patty. I had the intentions, like good intentions of what I wanted to do, but like I guess I fell back into the fast life, which is what I was involved in before I joined. And I found myself under investigation within my first 6 months of being in the military. Now, did I do the thing? No. Was it someone else? Maybe. They said I was a conspirator to something. But the point is that I, fell into a pattern. And that's so relevant, by the way, with people's dogs. Patterns of behaviors that are not serving us. And it wasn't until uh, the kernel that I drove for, because it's so interesting, Patty. And just before we keep going, do I have your permission? Just full vulnerability, emotion,
Yes.
laughter. Okay, cool. That's the
Mhm.
only way I like to show up in
Yes.
the world. So I
Please.
appreciate that. So I end up being pulled from military police duties, because I'm now under investigation. And that had happened for like, I think over a year. It was delayed and drawn on. But, anyways, Patty, I ended up being the colonel's driver, the USAR provost marshal. So the colonel in charge of all military police in Europe. And here I am under investigation. Like, what are the odds? It's so crazy. Well, my battalion commander found out. He pulled me from that full bird colonel somehow. And I became Colonel Chambliss's driver back in, what was it, 2001, a few years ago. And he became like a father to me, Patty. And it really was another really instrumental part for me wanting to change who I was and stuff. It was really a beautiful interaction. It wasn't your typical driver colonel experience. It was really just very special. I feel very honored for that opportunity. From there, I got into military working dogs, because after my time with the colonel, he's like, you could do anything you want. What do you want to do? And I saw the MWD, military working dog handlers, on a deployment to Croatia. And I was really intrigued. And I'm like, what are you guys doing? What is this? We're like, oh, we're MWD handlers. I'm like, what the heck is that? And I asked him, I said, Sergeant, can I interview you, please? Can I learn more about this? And she's like, sure. It's like an easy deployment. So we all had a lot of time. And so I was asking him a lot of questions, very inquisitive. And I'm like, this is exactly what I want to do. And that's how I became a dog handler. I got certified in 2002. Um, I think I shared more than you were asking, but at least that connects some of the dots.
No, I love it. And honestly, for some of my guests, I allow us to go over. If it happens, it happens. I'm the boss, so it's fine. So I actually want to know a little bit more about that because when you were younger, before you were in the military, did you have any attachment to any animal before?
Yeah. One, very special, Patty. So special. I could feel the emotion as soon as you asked it. We didn't have a lot of money growing up, but my mom would take me, and this is in like the city, and right, this isn't an area where there's cattle and this kind of thing, but this was back in, I guess, maybe 1985 or something. My mom would take me to this house, and on the corner of their property, they had like maybe half an acre, and they had a horse. And she would take me to feed this horse carrots. And like, I swear that this horse could talk to me. Like, I could feel it. I could feel its soul. I could feel its energy. And like, that was my first transformative experience with an animal. And now that that's exactly what I now do with dogs and their owners, where it's like, it's higher than just, oh, sit. It's this really incredible, soulful, intuitive, spiritual, if you will, connection. So that was my first real experience with an animal. And I guess, that really paved the way.
hmm When I was younger, I remember some people back then, and even now probably, they didn't really think that animals could think for themselves. They thought that, they were kind of mean to animals sometimes. Not in my house. My parents, oh my goodness, we had every animal you could name probably in my house. But I do remember like a man across the street who would like yell at his dog and he'd kick at him. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what do you think of it when you see that?
It's someone that is just pushing their own agenda, and they're not honoring the essence and that other being, because that other animal, or that other, even if it's a person, right, that other being has its own agenda, it has its own desires, its own wants, its own needs. And when someone is acting out in that way, they're just not honoring that other being. In addition, it's likely coming out of frustration, and the frustration is likely from a lack of understanding or knowing, and probably a lack of control. That's where the frustration happens, is that there's not a level of control. And let's face it, they have their own mind, animals do. And so we want to honor that. And the other part is we owe it to them to figure them out more, because we're bringing them into this human world, and they don't know that a car can hurt them. They don't know that antifreeze is poisonous, right? So it's our job to give them the best experience possible, because we're bringing them into our environment.
That's a good point. I need to tell my dog that because I think she thinks I'm in her environment. She's amazing though. My dog is so amazing. Um, so tell me about how when you first started learning how to train dogs, because that's not easy. It's really, really, really not.
Patty, I feel like finally I got it figured out. It took 20 years, but it is okay to get the animal to do the thing. Is it easy? Kind of. If you don't have patience, it's very hard. I somehow am able to really have great patience with animals. With people, I'm still working on that, to be transparent with you. But my very first dog, Patty, was a military working dog. His name was Rex, and I discovered Rex at Lackland Air Force Base. And so when you go through K-9 school for Department of Defense, you work with multiple dogs. So the first one I worked with was Rex. He was a dual purpose dog, which means that he did attack work and he did detection for drugs. And that was a huge learning curve. It's really intimidating, right? Like not being around dogs much. And then all of a sudden, here they are, they're like, okay, well, the dog's going to lunge after you. We're going to build its confidence to want to bite. And I'm just like, what? But honestly, it's really fun. Like your adrenaline really gets going and stuff. But yeah, honestly, Patty, if we can, and I think this really applies to life. That's what I love about psychology of dogs and humans. If we take whatever we want to teach an animal and we just break it down into many steps, then it's really quite simple. Like it doesn't matter if you want to teach them to search for bombs or the trick of to walk backwards. You take the many steps and you just break them down incremental. And I feel like if we can apply that in our own life, our business, our personal life, and say like, okay, well, I want to launch a podcast or whatever you desire, and just chop it up and just one little win at a time. And the other part is to enjoy and then celebrate those little victories along the way. So when we do it that way, Patty, it's actually not all that complicated. And I'd love to answer any questions that you may have about your dog now or in the future. No problem at all.
All right. Well, my dog right now, she really is like the best dog. Seriously. It's
I
like she
love it.
can read my mind. I don't even
Mhm.
have to like, I don't even have to tell her no. And when I want her to come here, I just go like this. Did you hear that?
No.
That's all I do. And she'll come.
Wow.
So she's actually looking at me
That's
right now.
incredible.
She's just smart. So she was my mom's dog. My mom bought her when she was a puppy, and then my mom passed away from cancer. And
Oh,
I took her, and she's just amazing. She just doesn't need a thing. She just we know each other.
That's really beautiful. And I'm sorry for your loss. I had stage 3 colon cancer when I was 30 years old, so 11 years ago. And so I understand a little bit about that journey. But I guess it's even more special that you have that dog with you. That must mean so much more.
Yeah, she's amazing. So normally on my show, I do ask my guests what's one trial that you've been through.
Uh-huh.
And you just mentioned that you had colon cancer. That's a big deal.
It was, Patty. And then 2 months after, I had a heart attack, the widowmaker heart attack.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And so, it was just really about me not listening to slowing down, is how I feel. I can be stubborn at times, especially back then. And there wasn't anything that could slow me down. Sure, I was making a lot of money, but I didn't have much of a quality of life. And I think that that's why my higher power, whatever universe, whatever God, whatever you want to call it, was like, no, you don't have a choice. And so it even took even more than that to slow me down, where I didn't have a choice. I was absolutely forced. But yeah, Patty, really for people listening, we all have been through things, some type of trauma, some type of something. Unfortunately, that's just this human experience. But, I can't stress enough this being willing to go through the uncomfortable thing. So I actually would get the thought of getting cancer, or I'm about to have a heart attack, like almost paranoid, if you will. I would have these thoughts hundreds of times a day, Patty. But I created this mental game, this creative visualization technique, where I literally have been able to rid my thoughts of the thought of getting cancer ever again, where it used to come hundreds of times a day. And so I just would repeat this process in my head over and over and over again. And so I hope that serves as a little bit of inspiration about for others that are going through things and having thoughts they don't want to have and that aren't serving them, that they can actually let them go. But first, it comes from the awareness and the desire, and then follow some type of way to do so. But yeah, it really can impact your life very negatively. Absolutely.
It's interesting you've brought that up. I often have you ever had this happen? I've had a headache coming on and I will sit there and tell myself, no, I am not getting a headache. And I will force myself to think I'm not going to get a headache. And then it goes away.
That's awesome.
Can you do that? Or is it just me?
Well, I'm a big believer in the law of attraction. And so I do feel like our thoughts highly impact our reality and that kind of thing is, and our desires as well. And so, yeah, I think that's a manifestation. And, we all have these ups and downs. I know I do. And so when I'm on, though, it's incredible as to the things that I'm able to create. And it sounds like you are, and many of us are able to. But I think that, yeah, there's so much power to our mind and our beliefs that we don't tend to give it enough credit that it deserves.
Mm-hmm. Now, I had mentioned that I do ask all my guests what's one of the hardest things you've been through and how did you overcome that? I automatically thought, well, geez, it must be cancer, but I don't want to put that on you. So what do you think the hardest thing has been in your life and how did you overcome that?
Yeah. Wow. Geez, Patty, this is a tough one. So in May of 2011, I had stage 3 colon cancer. And 2 months after that, I had the widowmaker heart attack. And this is at 30 years old. And, before this, I had never broken a bone. I hadn't been through anything physically. And so it was a lot to take on. And clearly, the smiling I'm doing right now, it's fake, right? That's not real, right? It's hiding emotion probably. And so just to be transparent. But a month after the heart attack, Patty, I was involved in an animal cruelty case. My dog charged after me when I went to put a muzzle on her. And I went to put a muzzle on her because she kept licking a little sore she had. My thought was that I would allow it to dry so she could lick it, put a muzzle on. Well, there's a thing called muzzle conditioning. You need to do that with most anything you put on a dog. That's a foreign type of equipment. And I hadn't done that. And so she charged after me. And because of the health stuff, because of PTSD, I went to the war in 2005 with a bomb dog. Patty, I overreacted. I acted out of character. I acted in a way that wasn't fair to my dog. It wasn't fair to myself. It wasn't fair to the community. Now, did I injure her? No. But I did, strike her, like I smacked her with an open hand, which is unnecessary, right? But I can tell you that I acted out of fear. And I can tell you that a lot of the times when I've screwed up in my life, it's acting out of fear. And I know that I'm not the only one. And so when you say, like, what was the hardest thing, that, Patty, like, I wanted to kill myself for 5 years. Like, every single day I was suicidal. I lost my business from that, and it still impacts me today. Like, I did 2 TED Talks just so that I could, share my side of the story, because I never shared with the media what had happened. And I ended up being on the front page of the newspaper and on the news from that incident, because it's an appealing story. This dog trainer, beats his dog, right? Is kind of how they framed it. But I never shared my side. I never shared trauma and health stuff and all of that. Now, it's not an excuse, but I will say that those things definitely had me acting outside of who I really am, the essence of who I am. So I still have a hard time with that. I've come a long way, but I used to not be able to say that without crying a lot. But that, Patty, was the most difficult thing I've ever been through.
Well, the thing is too, we all really screw up, right? We've all screwed up like a lot of times, like a ton of times. But it's not always captured in the media or on a camera so I didn't even know that about you. But just going to put this out here too, like, yes, you're remorseful and I understand that, but really, people who put that, like, magnifying that, I don't agree with that either. Like, I don't like that. I don't think that was right for you either, because even the reporter who put it in there, like, I don't know all the details. However, I do know that that person's not human either, and it's not under the microscope. So I personally I don't watch the news. I don't read the news. Not for the news. I like this platform better, because we get to hear truthful stories like from you, like, yeah, I screwed up and in whatever, I'm moving on. And that is what I want, all my listeners to know, like, no matter who you are and what you've done, there's, you know, there's hope to do better. And that's the big thing, right?
So well said, Patty. There you go. Like, that's why we've been connected. That's why we're in this moment right now, is so that someone else can hear this and feel like they have it really bad, and hear this and be like, well, geez, if this guy could overcome that, then I can overcome this. And I share myself as a resource on how I overcame it. But Patty, I had it take way longer than it needed to. It really. But I can tell you that this has been an ongoing evolution. But yeah, for anyone that's going through something that they don't feel is serving them, that they're ashamed of or not proud of, or they're not just getting the most out of the life that they want, like, let's do something about it, right? Like, let's change things up. And that's what I had to do, Patty. I had to really look to myself and transform who I was. Now, was I a horrible person? No, but I was, like, definitely acting out like a combat vet that had been through some things in society. Like, that's how I was acting. And eventually it was like, no, I need to show up in a better way. And so I've committed to personal growth and development. It's my part-time job, Patty. I met with my shaman yesterday. I literally meet with people weekly because it takes work. Like you, I don't listen to the news. There's so much out there that can really pull us the other way. And I feel like it takes a lot of effort to show up in the best us as possible. So I hope your audience will reach out. I would love to be a resource if they want to know more about what had happened. I talked about it in my first TED Talk. If you type Ryan Matthews TED Talk, there's 2. It's the longer version. But again, I hope it serves as inspiration to, number one, improve who you are, show up in the world the best way possible. But we don't need to let our past define us. I think so many of us live our life that way, whether it's a childhood trauma or whatever, something we're ashamed of.
Absolutely. And one of the best things I like about you is, I just remember meeting you we met in person in Orlando, right? And I clearly remember that because it was very easy to talk to you. And I just felt really comfortable around you. Your demeanor is amazing. You have so many super cool stories too. I mean, we could probably have like a whole series. Like if you're not podcasting, you need to be podcasting.
I know.
um,
You're right.
but tell us, what are you doing now, like today?
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that, though. I just wanted to acknowledge that I'm really different, Patty, one-on-one with people. Like I like deep conversation, soulful interaction. I don't like surface talk. And I actually am very introverted in group environment. Like I'm a much different person than I am now. And so, I do have different masks, like I think we all do. But I just wanted to acknowledge that I remember we were at this restaurant. There was a group of us, and I remember the conversation as well. I think we were at Podfest. So yeah,
Yeah.
I too enjoyed it. So thank you for acknowledging that. But so where I'm at now, Patty, it's I did admit that I had hid for many years from dog. Like I took 5 years off from dog training, and then I kind of put my toe in the water and just a little bit. Well, I'm happy to share. I'm just now, like literally just now, Patty, as in the past month, starting to get my fire back, and it's not even all the way there. And so right now, what I'm doing is I'm ultimately like franchising my brand, World of Dog Training, and I'm training people to become trainers. So we have 6 locations. We just opened up in Nashville and Northwest Arkansas. And so what I'm doing is I'm creating a business in a box. And like I shared earlier, I've dedicated my life to giving back to dogs because they've done a lot for me, especially after the war and stuff. And so my thinking is this: I can only serve so many people by myself. And I love to serve, but I just can't have a large enough impact. So I'm creating people to become dog trainers so that they can have a really good 6-figure income. They can serve their community and frustration that owners are having with their dogs and help dogs, keep dogs out of shelters. And so I feel like it's a multi-way win. That's kind of the project that I'm most passionate about now. Of course, there's always ongoing books right now. We're getting ready to launch a children's book about dog wellness and dog training, which is really fun. But yeah, Patty, the big thing I'm interested in doing is training people to become trainers in this really cool, exciting, lean way. We can do it in just 60 days. And it's really exciting. And if anyone thinks you can't make money as a dog trainer, you absolutely can. Like, I don't want to brag or whatever, but people can talk to me offline about what one can make. But I can tell you, Patty, more than the money, what feeds you so much is the smiles on people's faces and to see these dogs start to act differently and show you love, saying, thank you for saving me and this family. Like, thank you for bridging the gap of communication.
Yeah. Yeah. Really. It's like you're a translator.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's
Really.
amazing. Oh my goodness. I'm so happy to be connected with you and just really, really proud of you. And you know what? It takes a lot to admit when somebody screws up. But what I really, really like is that you not only screw up, but you use that experience to help other people because we all
Absolutely.
screw up and
We do.
not everybody does anything with it. And sometimes people hide under a rock and they can't get back out. I mean, so it takes a lot of courage and I'm super proud of you. And I
Mm.
definitely think that anybody interested in dog training should go to you for sure.
Well, I welcome it. It's really fun at this point. It's really being a problem solver. But I appreciate the acknowledgement. Uh, the flow is really nice with you, so I appreciate this interview and the time. I've really enjoyed it. It feels like we've only been talking for like 7 minutes.
I know. I don't even know what time it is. So we have a few more minutes. Um, so tell me right now, how many dogs do you personally have?
Okay, so right now you can see on the video, the dog behind me, that's Zeus. He's the dog that was on the TEDx stage with me, total character.
Oh man.
And I feel like these 4 photos behind me really illustrate like his essence. But yeah, the other part is I have thousands of dogs because I also feel like I have this connection with clients' dogs that they're kind of mine in a way as well, because like I tell clients, I'm like, look, in order for us to work together, we have to agree to spend a micro piece of our lives together. And that's what I get to do with their dogs as well. And I feel like they're kind of mine in a way as well because of the depth of interaction that we have as well. But yeah, for in my house, just Zeus. I travel a lot now. I travel for celebrity clients and other types of things. And so unfortunately, my truth is, and it's kind of a sore subject, I don't give Zeus as much time as I'd like because of travel. So yeah, just one for now.
Mhm. That's good though, So tell my listeners, where can they purchase your book? Do you have any social media?
Yeah, absolutely. So people can connect with me on social at World of Dog Training on Instagram. And then my Facebook is I am Ryan Matthews. And I haven't ever done this, Patty. I just wanted to make sure, checking on myself that it's true, and it is. I've never done this before. I've given lead magnets away, but I will give your audience my book for free. I sell it on Amazon for $17. It's called The K-9 Connection. But all they need to do is send me an email, Ryan at worldofdogtraining.com, Ryan at worldofdogtraining.com. Share that they're Patty's audience. And you didn't know I was going to offer that. We didn't talk about this, right?
That's amazing.
So I will send them my book for free. It's an ebook and an audio book. I will send them both totally for free just because they listen to you. And in support of that, I would love to gift them that book.
Thank you. I know there's going to be some that are really interested in this deal, and I know they're going to reach out. So thank you.
Absolutely.
You're so amazing. And everybody, make sure you do stop over and give Ryan's Instagram some love. And if you're interested in dog training, get that book. If you know somebody else who is, have them listen to this, and then they can get the book. Don't just let them squeak by and cheat.
That's
They
right.
have to listen to this whole thing and get to the end of this and then go. Thank you, Ryan. Thanks so much for being on the show. I really appreciate you, and everybody who's listening, just thank you. And I hope that you have a great rest of your day or your evening, wherever you're listening at. And again, Ryan, one more time, just share your social media.
Sure. World of Dog Training, or I am Ryan Matthews on Facebook.
Excellent. Excellent, everybody. Take care. And until next time, I will, communicate with you online. Take care.
Thank you for listening. Please head over to pattikatter.com for the latest updates on Patti, her talk show, and what she's up to. You can also find her on Amazon TV and Roku, and on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Patti Katter. Until next time.